Welcome. You're listening to Parts and Charts, the IFS and Astrology Podcast. I'm Chelsea Owens, an artist and licensed marriage and family therapist specializing in internal family systems, and one of my spiritual gifts is the ability to balance depth and fun.
And I'm KP Kaszabowski, a poet, filmmaker, and astrologer who seeks pathways to fully loving myself and others, and the language for what is happening underneath the surface.
Together, we explore how inner parts and planetary archetypes speak to one another. Whether you're new to IFS or astrology or deep in your own integration practice, we're glad you're here.
Okay, so I saw a video on one of the social medias the other day of a therapist saying that their client's speaking part was like front and center, and they understood that the speaking part had to speak, but that their other parts needed that speaking part to take a rest. And I didn't know any of this, what any of that meant. So can you tell me what speaking part would be? If like, because every part speaks in a session, right? So what's the distinction?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not uncommon for in a session to ask a part to take a step back, or however you want to phrase it. Some people say take a step back, or just give you some space. You're really just asking for that part. Well, you're asking the client to notice that as a part, and in that noticing that it is a part, just asking it to just kind of, yeah, take a step back, sit beside you, really just kind of sit and watch while you work with something else that's in the system. So I kind of think about it as like, okay, if you're sitting with a group of friends or like a family, you're having like maybe family therapy, or you're just having a family discussion, and one of the members of the family is like jumping in a lot. They're like, oh, you know, filling you, like feeding you lines or saying things to try to, I don't know, get to a certain place, have an agenda or whatever they're trying to do. You would maybe direct that family member, like, could you be quiet for a second? You wouldn't say that in the inside of your own system, but that's essentially what you're doing. Like, can you just kind of give us some space so that we can, you know, talk to this person directly and find out how they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they want to say, instead of you kind of directing it. Or does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Definitely.
and it could be so, you know, maybe in this example that you gave, they used the term speaker part. Maybe that's what this person already named that part, you know, that could be the name of the part. Or that could be a thinking part, a part that does a lot of thinking, very intellectual part, intellectualizer. So that could be, yeah, but you know, like you said, a lot of parts speak. That's true. So there isn't just one. I don't think there's just one, you know, speaker part that's always doing the speaking.
Yeah. Well, I'm like immediately thinking about, LOL, I'm using the word thinking. Thinking about how I definitely have a very strong thinking part and speaking part when I've been in like client-based sessions, like as the practitioner and also as the client, and how the Mercury in our chart, the part of Mercury, the planet of Mercury, is often where we get information about how we think, how we learn, how we speak, how we language, all that stuff. My Mercury is right on top of my Sun. So there's like a great emphasis on speaking in language. And it like because they're right next to each other with Mars as well, there's like I shouldn't say can't, but there's probably a lot of resistance to separating those parts and energies, and how there may be clients or people in this world whose Mercuries are separated from their sun enough where they can see the difference between who
Mm,
they are and who the speaking part is or who the thinking part is.
yeah.
Not saying there's an impossibility for me personally, because I can step away from the thinking. Zen meditation has been really, really helpful for me. I think specifically because my thinking part, if we're calling my Mercury my thinking part, is right on top of my sun. I know I need to
Yeah.
practice that more.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious what
that's
you think
a
about that.
yeah, I think that's such a cool yeah, okay, this is a great trailhead because I think I've experienced so many people in in doing this work that have really strong thinking parts. And because most often in traditional therapies, those are the parts that will probably show up in therapy or that come to
Yeah.
therapy and do all the speaking, which makes so much sense, right? And those parts are probably so used to showing up in therapy or in any kind of reflective space. And they're kind of downloading, like, okay, here's what happened, here's how I feel about it, or here's what I think about it, here's what I think I should do. You know, they're coming up with all these agenda items, perhaps, and even they can be so helpful because they'll show up and they always have a really positive intention too. Like they want to help the client feel better, right? So that's why they're coming to therapy, or they want this other feeling to go away because they want to help the client feel better. Um, and they're trying to make sense of everything to try to make the client feel better. Um, so they're doing all of these important tasks that they probably have a really great intention, and they're used to showing up in all of these spaces and giving all of the information and or the history. They're telling the biography of the client. So they're doing really important jobs. So there's nothing wrong with that, but they can get into pretty extreme roles sometimes
Yeah.
and take over, or they don't allow for anything else to flow in the system or other parts to come in. They're maybe stopping other parts from speaking or coming in. Um, so they're just these like really high level managers of the
Yeah.
system. And so for you, I think that's really an interesting correlation between like, yeah, the how it's so close to identity for you, how it's so close to the sun,
Yeah.
and and how difficult that could be for um, just being able to like have some space to even look at it as what it is and what it's doing as a
Yeah.
part. Yeah,
I
that's really
think
interesting.
I think about I don't know who said this. I feel like Marcus Aurelius or someone like that said it, but the phrase language determines as well as describes. I'll put it in the show notes if it is actually attributed to someone. But that really
Mhm,
helps me understand why language is so important to me and how it can become trickier than it has to be because I can say something like, and maybe I think this is a very human thing. Like, I can say something like, oh, I suck at running. And then
mm,
so I suck at running.
mhm,
Or I can describe something that, like, in a certain way. And then that's how I think about that thing, that phenomenon, that person, that event
yeah,
in the past. And then the language becomes the truth instead of the event or the person's, like, beingness. And I wonder
yeah,
if that's something we can look into with maybe people who have a better time with separating their identity and their language or have a greater handle on observation and surrender maybe like maybe
mhm,
their Mercury is further away from their sun and like that then the last part of this thought is um just astrologically the when you're born, your sun can only be one sign away from Mercury. Or I should say, Mercury can only be one sign away from your sun. So it's either the same sign as your sun or the one adjacent on either side.
oh
So
wow,
it's very common that you would have the same Mercury and sun sign. I don't know the statistics on that, but
Mm.
it's one of 3 signs. Like that's out of 12. That's pretty significant. And also like feels pretty human that your mind or your language can never be too far away from your identity in the sky, or is
Mhm.
the zodiac, I should say. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mhm.
your Mercury is in Leo, which is one sign away
Yeah.
from your sun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the first house of identity,
Yeah.
right?
That's interesting, I think, on like a double layer for you. It's like, yeah, it's
Mm.
far enough away from your sun, um, but your Mercury is ruled by the sun. So there's like a great, like, yeah, there's a lot of connection there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. That's really interesting. And, in terms of what we were talking about with thinking parts, there's flies everywhere, by the way.
Love it.
If you see me swatting, it's just these
More
beautiful flies.
friends.
We're friends. They want to be a part of the conversation. I know that with my thinking parts, before I even knew about IFS, I'm sure that's who was really in charge of language. Of course, it seems obvious, but until I started seeing an IFS therapist, I didn't even recognize it as thinking parts because sometimes when they have such good intentions and when they seem so like healthy, let's say, or well adjusted or whatever, all of these like maybe more positive qualities that we think of. Um, it's yeah, it felt so maybe confusing to me at the time when that was pointed out. And I think my thinking parts, I know my thinking parts felt a little exposed and they were like, whoa, like what? Like, don't accuse me of being a thinking part. I'm Chelsea.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And it was this weird moment of realizing that I had thinking parts and that they were in therapy, maybe even doing the therapy as a client. And reconciling that like took a minute because I was like, okay, well, if that's a part or these are parts, like what's me? Which seems so, I don't know,
Yeah.
kind of existential in a way. Like where am I seeing this from? And what's like, I don't know, behind that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so when you get to that layer, then it's like, whoa, okay, so there's more to me than just these thinking parts. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. now,
Yeah. Well,
now my thinking parts are completely offline.
yeah. Now I'm curious about, so when is like, you ask maybe the thinking, the speaking parts to step aside for a moment, very gently, as you do, with respect.
Hmm.
Then are there certain parts that do not speak at all, but the client is experiencing them and in some way communicating to you what's happening?
Yeah, parts can really uh, they can interact in a lot of different ways. They could be energetic, they could be emotional, they could be visual, they could be verbal. Like there's so many, or it could be just somatic. Like everyone experiences them differently, and and there can be parts that yeah may not even have language. I mean, sometimes I meet parts of my own that are so young that they really are like a little baby
Yeah,
and they have baby language or really really young thoughts that are harder to translate with words because young people don't have the same language that I do
yeah,
at my age. So in those cases you're really just you can like just sit with it. You can just sit with that part, or what they're experiencing, and have the part express whatever they're feeling or believing in any way that is possible for the client to just understand.
Yeah.
So you can just ask for kind of that transmission of like, is there any other way that they would like to communicate with you besides words? Like whether it's just, feeling or essence or whatever, so that you can just understand it in whatever way that they can share with you. It doesn't have to just be a verbal download. And then also, clients can tell me as much as they want. They don't have to give me a play by play or tell me exactly everything that's going on or that they're seeing or experiencing. And that's really up to them how much they want to share with me about what's going on inside the system.
Yeah.
Um, but it's helpful to know a little bit so that I can continue to kind of help guide where they're going. Yeah. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, and I guess I'm remembering that in our first session together when I was the client, that part of mine like was only giving me eye contact. There was no language. So like, yeah, I have a very
Mm-hmm.
personal experience with that. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of intuiting. And then there were other parts that were speaking that we asked to take a step aside. So yeah, that did happen. I'm just like kind of
Yeah.
doing like this sleuthing. So like how does language or thinking, speaking show up? So now I'm curious.
Yeah.
You find out a client has an air sign, Mercury, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would you, and let's like say that their thinking or speaking part is like pretty strong and like
Mm-hmm.
maybe really fruitful for discovery. But
Mm-hmm.
what does your knowledge of them having an air sign Mercury? Let's even say like Gemini, because that's like Mercury. Mercury loves to be
Yeah.
Gemini. That's
Oh,
Mercury's
yeah.
home. Yeah. So, or Virgo. So that's the other Mercury's home. Two very chatty signs, technically, because they're ruled by Mercury. Like, how would you maybe approach that kind of client who has a very strong
Mm-hmm.
Mercury?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would approach them the same as I kind of approach any parts or client, but knowing that information, I would probably just be noticing uh any, yeah, strong, like chatty thinking parts or like heavy intellectualizers that are there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just work with it, just to work with clients to see if they have an awareness of that. Like, and I want to be clear, like there's no kind of there's nothing wrong with having like a strong intellectualizer or thinking part, because we really need that. Like you need all these parts to show up to work, to figure out
Yeah.
your schedule,
Yeah.
to, you know, go to an interview, right? I need it, like my thinking part right now, because it's explaining something and teaching something. So we need all of those parts online for sure at different moments. So there's nothing inherently wrong with that or bad. Um, and I would probably just be noticing how that person's interacting with that part, and if they can recognize it as a part and speak for it, and notice when they're speaking from it, right? And um, so just the awareness, right, and how it's interacting with them. What's it doing? What's it afraid of happening if it wasn't so strongly intellectualizing?
Yeah.
How often is it there all the time? Is it pretty intense, or does it just kind of pop in every once in a while, and like it's okay taking some breaks? So just seeing like how it shows up and how it interacts with the client system. Does it kind of not let anybody else speak? Yeah. So
Yeah.
just bringing more awareness to how it shows up for the person. And it makes me curious too, if having the if having the air Mercury could make it more difficult to recognize it as a part, or depending on maybe how close it is to the sun, or um, if there's just such a strong identity with it, because it's so, if it's maybe more skilled at what it's doing
Right.
than other like watery Mercury, or
Yeah.
an earthy Mercury, like if it's just more skilled at doing what it's doing, and then that makes it more like I don't know, robust in the way that it's not going to give any space for anything else
Yeah.
to show up. Yeah, that makes me curious about that. Hmm.
This is making me think of something maybe far off topic, but I wonder
Yeah,
how you think about this. So as a kid, one of my fellow classmates wore a patch on one eye because
yeah.
the other eye that didn't use a patch needed to strengthen. And I don't think I'm using the right language for that. But I'm curious if that's an approach, speaking for myself, like someone who feels so much more comfortable with language than, let's say, like being inside of my body, relatable
Hmm.
or not. Um,
Hmm.
if there's something like that, like putting a patch on my language so that my body could be the one that is being asked to be more present. Maybe that's like what you're talking about is like we're asking my language to take a back seat for just a moment, not to be alarmed, so then something else can rise up and then like a muscle build that up as well and create
Hmm.
the word is probably integration, but create more of a balanced group of beings that work together and don't just rely on this one part to do most of the labor in one's life. And of course, like I do personally feel exhausted, I think because like lean into my language and reading and writing like that kind of the Mercury stuff in this lifetime.
Hmm.
Where if I didn't put so much of my energy into that, I don't know if I'd feel as much exhaustion as regularly as I do.
Hmm.
Does that like
Interesting.
connect to
Hmm.
something you've noticed elsewhere in the IFS?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we should also say that you're a very talented poet and writer.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
So,
I was told by Chelsea off camera that I have to say I'm from Wisconsin because every once in a while I say words like bag. Did I say it?
I don't, oh, I didn't catch it this time,
Okay,
but
bag. I say big sometimes. Anyway.
yeah, yeah, thank you for that. Your language part had to let
Mhm.
us know that. Yeah.
The older I get, the more Wisconsin I get.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, well, yeah, you are a very talented poet and writer and filmmaker. You do so much with words. It it's a part of me is like, oh, if she like patched that up, like, yeah, who knows what could happen, in the other parts of your life, you become like a professional athlete or something, who knows? But also another part of me is like, oh, like don't patch that up. We need your poetry and we need your writing and we need all of those beautiful things that you write all the time. Like it's beautiful. But I totally hear like, yeah, what are the possibilities here if I
Yeah.
wasn't relying or leaning into so heavily in this area of my life? Would other things flourish or I would create or feel something else in some other area? I was also thinking about the as you were speaking about the thinking parts of yourself that um yeah show up and you rely on for all of these like intellectual pursuits. uh it's important to note that if any of someone's like thinking their intellectual parts of these like really high level managers are carrying any kind of burden or they're carrying any like burdened beliefs about you, about the client, what the process would look like is working with those managers to like unload what that belief is
Mm,
through the process of this model. And and once they're kind of unburdened from those beliefs that they're carrying, it could be like a really strong belief, like if it could look like a fear, like if I don't do this, if I am not heavily intellectualizing things and thinking so strongly for the client, I'm afraid that I don't know, we won't have a job, and if we don't have a job, then we'll be out on the street or like in a really bad position, right? We'll lose it all. We'll lose everything. So if those beliefs or whatever burden they're carrying becomes unburdened, released, um, it honestly can change how they're showing up, which seems obvious, but they can soften a lot. They don't have to work as intensely. Uh, they don't have to get your attention in maybe the strong ways that they were before, kind of knocking on your door and being like, listen to this. Like it's, sometimes such a intense alert that they can give. And once they're kind of released of those maybe, intense beliefs that they were carrying about doing their job or about you, um, things can really shift. They're naturally just then creates a lot more space. You don't have to ask them to step back as much because you have this connection to them. They trust self. They trust
Yeah.
that it's okay for them to allow other parts to step forward and do other things, that they just don't have that intensity. But that's not, for every part, but I would say a lot of them carry some really strong beliefs, or maybe a trauma, maybe some just, big fears about what would happen if they weren't doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
How would you maybe identify? I mean, I think that it's like you'd be doing really active listening, right? You'd be not looking for, but paying attention to any statements of burden, right? And then asking questions like clarifying questions. Is that how you maybe seek that out and then work to relieve
uh,
the burden?
yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, the whole process of the model is just that. It's having dialogues with the part, to just see what they believe, what the beliefs are. And yeah, it looks like a lot of questions, but really just kind of being with and really making sure the part's feeling heard and understood. So
Yeah.
not necessarily like, an interrogation, right? Or something pressured. It's just really being with someone, and, this being, and just hearing what they're carrying, hearing how they feel, hearing what they've witnessed, what they're
Yeah.
so worried about happening. Just like you would with, a little kid, right? Or a young, vulnerable little being that's really worried about something, just hearing it, right? Just hearing it speak, and understanding it, showing some compassion, and yeah, just really letting it be with you and feel your presence, because that's what
Yeah.
it really wants. It wants to feel the connection to self. It wants to feel, the presence of that, like, open-heartedness. Yeah.
This is just like everything that I'm contemplating or studying now or the past few years is like treating every being like a friend. Like you don't approach a new being asking them like what their favorite sex position is, right? Like if that's the first thing you say to this being, like a tree or a new friend or a part, like tell me your most vulnerable detail,
Mhm.
then they're going to run away. Like there's like only a few reactions.
Mhm.
But it really is like showing up, listening, not being pushy,
Mhm.
acknowledging that they exist and how they exist is like exactly perfect because that's what they're doing. Um, yeah, it's just making me think of like the practice of land offerings across many cultures in this world, or tending to grief or tending to friendship. Like, yeah, so
Mhm.
I like how
Yeah.
you're stating all this is like we're not here to change anything. We're here to get to know each other. And then that's the only way. That's
Mhm.
the only way. Um,
Mhm.
is it's relational. It's relational care.
Mm. Mhm.
But now
Yeah.
I'm thinking about something. Thinking. So Mercury retrograde happens about 3 times every year.
Mm. Yeah.
So a lot of us have Mercury retrograde in our birth chart. And that can look
Um,
like a lot of things. In my experience, it can look like someone who's maybe less, I have a Mercury retrograde. Someone who's maybe less sure of what they're saying. They would rather listen first before they speak. It could look like maybe a
Oh.
little bit of a stumbling kind of speech pattern. I definitely have like a stranger speech pattern. It's not so forthright and steady. Um, Someone who's more comfortable reading rather than writing, or someone who's more comfortable listening rather like speaking. I said that. Um, how would you approach a speaking part that has that maybe makeup or and it feels possibly like a difficulty of speech and thinking, but it's not. And then how do you how would you approach that, I guess? That
Mm-hmm.
belief that the way that someone speaks or thinks is not correct.
Ooh. I would get curious about where the belief about it not being correct is coming from.
Yeah.
Like, if that's coming from within the system or like outside of the system.
Mm. So let's say like it's specifically so not related to me, but someone who maybe younger had a speech impediment and like
Mm-hmm.
has developed that speech impediment in a certain way that they feel good about it, but maybe they're still lingering like, oh, I talked funny for a while. Like, and I'm using that in
Mm-hmm.
like heavy air quotes, by the way, talked
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Like, how would you maybe ask questions about that?
Yeah. We would just work with that part, like whatever parts are around that. Yeah. And just get curious. If there's a part that feels, if they're still carrying some kind of burden about what it was like back then, right? What it was like for them. Maybe they had some experiences in learning environments that were difficult, and maybe there's shame involved. There's probably many parts involved. So we would just get curious about it and just work with whatever the meaning that was made from it, or
Yeah.
what the parts made, in terms of meaning from all those experiences and whatever they, yeah, witnessed or went through. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about that. Just like be curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
let's switch to the more thinking rather than speaking.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so like, can you talk more about what, yeah, what thinking parts feel like or look like in the
Mm.
system?
It can be such a variety. Like, it really, yeah, I feel like it may be a boring answer, but like it's really like different from person to person. Like, it could be anything.
Right.
I I I mean, maybe generally, okay, hold on a second. There's a good guy here. He might be working on the deck, but we'll see. I don't know. Generally, thinking I think thinking parts are probably going to be localized to the head.
Okay.
Usually when I ask, like, where are you feeling in your body, or where are you noticing this part right now? It's usually like here,
Yeah.
which, obviously makes sense. But honestly, they can look and feel like anything. It could look like you. It could look like, I don't know, somebody carrying a
Mhm.
clipboard. It could look like, yeah, like it could be a lot of things. I mean, if you want to just try to just check in with your own system right now,
Yeah, let's
you
do
could
it.
do a little experience
Yeah,
or
I
a
feel
little,
like let's do an example. Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
By the way, I have a
So,
Mercury in Libra, 2 degrees.
yeah, so just take a second, just check in with your system right now.
Okay.
And I'm imagining that our thinking parts are pretty strong right now since we're kind of doing some chit chat and doing a lot of thinking. So it might be right at the surface. And just see if you can have access to some of your thinking parts right now. You notice them anywhere in around your body right now.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
feel
what are you
like there's
noticing?
defiant elements. Like I'm not thinking because my attention is in my torso and gut area. Like I'm in my body.
Mm,
So there's like definitely like, don't define me,
hmm.
but it's
Yeah,
thinking. That's the
yeah,
thinking.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
notice it in your gut, in your
Mhm.
torso.
And up here,
Yeah,
but it's like
and up here. Yeah.
making me look down here. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you get any visual information with that?
I saw like a warmth, like a red warmth, but it wasn't like a dangerous red. It was
Hmm.
like the inside of a body's red.
Yeah.
Which might be an intellectualization of that. Um, yeah, that's all I'm seeing, and I usually have more visuals.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. How are you feeling towards it right now? As you're noticing it.
I think interesting that I said think. It's interesting to me that I'm feeling so much detail inside of my body cavity
Mm-hmm.
when I'm technically recording and speaking with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel comforted, which is probably a result of talking with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I see snakes. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you notice them right now? How do you experience them?
They're up in my like visual field, so by my head. It's one coiled snake with a head on each end.
Ooh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Is there a color to it?
Yeah, it's like storybook green,
Mm-hmm.
yellow
Yeah.
bottom belly, and then like red, like bright red, like an ink
Mm.
bright red tongue.
Mm. Mhm.
Looks kind of medieval.
Mm. Mm. Is it aware of you right now?
Yeah, it's like putting on a show for me.
Ah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. It doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, I think so. It's fading a little bit.
Mm. Yeah. See, you can just let it know who you are.
It knows I'm afraid of snakes.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel being there with you?
How does the part feel?
Yeah.
I think it likes an audience.
It feels like you're an audience. It feels okay for you to be there.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
performing. It likes it.
It's fun. It likes it. Yeah. Just see if you can ask it if that's what it does for you. Is that its job in the system, performing?
Um, so like it started to fade a little bit before, but now it's like showing off and like changing form a little bit. Like the jaw is very large and like it just feels very like magical and cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and then I gave me language that though it didn't say the language, it said like, "Look at me, I'm so magnificent."
Mm-hmm.
I'm magnificent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a direct answer of like, this is what I do for you. I'm dazzling.
Mm. Dazzling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a little scary, but like not, they're not scary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling towards it right now?
Very entertained.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It feels special.
Mm-hmm. And just see if it wants to tell you anything else about itself.
It says I think too much about what it's doing, like it might go away at any moment. But I don't have to worry that it's going away. Like it does its duty whether I'm aware of it or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't want to say any more about its duty so that I really understand it.
I think the symbolism of the snake is really strong. Um, because I'm sensing that like they're very cunning. They can go anywhere. They're undetectable when they need to be, and they're vicious when they need to be. Like they're just very adaptable and strong. Um, and like the fact that they don't have a backbone is like one of the best things.
Mm.
Oh, I got like struck in the chest when I said that. Like the being told Libras don't have a backbone. They're like, it's
Oh,
great though. Like, look at me.
oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So all that information is coming from the part, is that right? From the
It's
snake part.
I think there was like the chest womp was a corrective, like, oh no, that's possibly a wound. So I don't think that was the part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something else. Okay. Yeah. Mm. And I just want to check how you're noticing all of this. Are you seeing it? You kind of seeing yourself speaking to this snake?
No, I'm looking through my own eyes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mhm.
The
And
snake is
just check.
now like a purple dragon, but they keep switching back and forth.
Ah, that kind of a shapeshifter, huh?
Yeah.
Ah. Mhm. Yeah. Let's see if there's any fears or concerns that the dragon or the snake have for you. Anything they want to let us know about.
Mm, they say they feel too controlled.
Mm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they have to sit in like a specific space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to say who put them there or how they got into that?
They say it's me.
Mm. Yeah. Do you know how long they've been there? Mm.
In the
Put
space.
into this? Yeah.
Mm,
You know how far back they go in doing this?
I'm seeing a wall button. I don't know what that means.
Mm. Are they showing you that?
I can't tell. Can't tell if it's them showing me it or me showing me it.
Mm. Mhm.
It looks
Yeah,
like a. Go ahead.
just ask, just ask them what they would like to show you about how long they've been here.
I think right away. Like I'm sensing like infancy.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it goes back a long time. Hmm. Yeah, when you were born, or even before that. Does it
I
exist
think
even before birth?
there's like I'm seeing like breastfeeding. Like that's the age.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So infancy. Yeah, you've been around for a long time. Hmm. What do they remember what was going on for you back then? What did it feel like to be you?
Mm. Instantly my ears hurt. Like there's too much noise.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, they noticed there was too much noise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that what they do? Kind of turn off the noise, or
What was that?
do they? Is that what they do? They kind of turn off the noise.
I think I'm sensing that I control them in not speaking because there's already too much noise externally. So like they go off on their own somewhere else until like I'm ready for them again. That's like the putting parameters on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just check if they're letting you know that, or if there's another part here that's letting you know that.
Yeah, they seem like they're used to being patient.
At least to be patient with you. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling towards them right now? Hearing what they're telling you.
Feel a little checked, like not being told to change anything, but like, yeah, like this is how it is. Like you didn't know.
Mm,
Um, there isn't an attitude though. I think I put the attitude in there,
mm, mm-hmm.
which is definitely because I feel checked.
Ah, mm-hmm.
But it doesn't seem like they necessarily need things to change
Mm-hmm.
because they're dazzling. They keep like now they're like changing a lot, like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
magical.
Mm-hmm.
My
Is
costume
this
change.
ooh, costume change?
Hmm.
Yeah, just checking to see if there's a part that feels that checking, like, oh, didn't realize I was doing that, or something like that. Just see if there's something like that here. That's noticing that.
Interesting. I see a burrito. A
Yeah.
really neatly wrapped burrito,
Nice. Mm-hmm.
but it's in my headspace and I'm not feeling anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very beautifully wrapped burrito.
Yeah. See if you can ask it if that's what it's doing, if it's kind of the thinking part jumping in.
Mm. I'm not sure if I'm getting information.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's mostly faded out now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And a little farther away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. If it needs to step in or say anything, it can. Yeah. I'm just checking back in with the dazzling snake dragon part. Is it still there?
Hmm.
Yeah. How are you feeling towards it now?
It's back to its like double-headed snake form,
Yeah.
and it's making the shape of a mustache.
Yeah, it's really entertaining. Huh? Yeah. Well, let's see if there's any last things that it wants to share with you about itself before we kind of wrap up.
Mm. They really like talking with friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like the comment of like, why so serious?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the Joker way, but
Yeah.
like we love
Yeah.
talking with friends in a fun
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
and you're making us so smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the message.
Yeah. Okay. So they really kind of want to joke around, and
Hmm.
there's like a lightness in the way that they perform, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just thank them for that information. Thanks
we
for
bow to each
sharing with
other.
us. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Really send some appreciation for these parts showing up here and being a part of your system.
Wow, were we in there for 4 hours?
I didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it always does.
It always does. I know. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more going on, or just a lot going on.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, as you're noticing inside. Yeah, and your little, yeah, it's such a journey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not fully aware of what you're doing in these moments, and that's part of the magic, I'm sure. But your subtle questions throughout is like helping me both stay focused and also become even more aware of what is
Mm-hmm.
happening in the front and also like the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And this
nice.
time the like pain in my ears, it was very like subtle, I guess, but it was only there for as long as I needed the information. Just interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's like somehow how parts kind of pop in, and you really somatically can know they're there.
Yeah.
Like even briefly, right? And even just acknowledging it or noticing it as a part, then just starts to soften. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What did you notice as a practitioner?
So many things. Um, yeah, I feel curious about maybe and I do not want to name your parts, so I'm
Yeah.
being really careful with my language right now
Yeah.
because I know that it doesn't feel good to parts to be named or pointed out by somebody else. So I'm really cautious about that. And even maybe when we were inside your system, I there are moments where I had like a feeling like, oh, if this, could be a part or this could be a part. Um, and just kind of checking for how you're feeling towards these different energies that were showing up, just to see like what's here, uh without just kind of naming like is that a part, or kind of asking, is that a part. I did a few times, and then the system's just gonna say what it is, and tell us so that we can know where we're going, and
Yeah.
who's here. Yeah, yeah. uh And yeah, I guess how was that experience for you in just kind of noticing what's here and what feels like a part or what doesn't feel like a part? Or is that still kind of feeling like a newer way of interacting with your system, that
Yeah.
you're still kind of
It's
getting
still
used to that?
it's still really new, but it felt very clear that the double-headed snake was absolutely a part. But then there was the burrito and the form, and I wonder if that is a part that I just don't have acquaintance with yet. So they weren't as clear about what they were or who they were.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the snake part was talking about that part. The part
Mm-hmm.
that like the words were folded, neatly folded and formed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe that's just for another time to get to know them more.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt corrective, which I think is a part that we have explored in the past together. And they didn't have a shape then either.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were red, like that's all I knew about them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so there was only one clear part, and then there was me that I knew was me. Where the last session there was more of a blending moment where like a part
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to be separated so I can see that part more
Yeah.
clearly. But that wasn't happening this time, which is interesting
Yeah.
to know the distinction.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So you even noticed that distinction a little bit more this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And yeah, the snake and dragon just seem like such lovely parts, or a part. It's with its dazzling, like performing quality.
Yeah. I
And
mean
yeah, I'm curious.
that was a little bizarre for me because the way that I conceive of my Libra Mercury is not so dazzling, but then the more I felt the part, I was like, maybe it is. And then I was like, oh, I kind of like you a lot.
Mm,
I'm very
mm,
happy with you. Not to
mm,
assign so much positive, like, tone to a part, which I know can be dangerous, but it made me feel better about how I've been thinking about my own Mercury, especially because my Mercury is in retrograde and I do have a difficult time
mm,
speaking out loud, especially when I'm sensing nuance that I don't
mm,
quite have a handle on yet. So I tend to
mhm,
take a back seat in conversations in that way. But then my part basically told me like, you don't need to control me as much. Like you can trust me and that you don't have to be so metered when you're in more difficult conversations. Um,
mm. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, interesting connecting that to
Yeah.
Mercury.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So if we were going to continue, I'd get curious about hearing more about the control, or like what is feeling controlled, and who's doing the controlling,
Yeah,
and um and any fears around not being metered, or
yeah,
filtering, or any fears around that as well. So there could be another part that's feeling all of that stuff.
yeah,
um and it could be, yeah, kind of polarized with this part, or I'm not really sure, but that's where I'd want to probably go if I was going to continue.
Yeah. I hope this demonstration was helpful for whoever's listening right now, because it's, takes a lot of like it's experimentation. Like we're talking about the
Yeah.
talking and thinking, or the speaking and thinking parts. And this demonstration, I think my speaking part really did show up in a pretty clear way that I'm surprised by, because the other parts weren't as clear right away. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's because my Mercury is so prominent. Like my Mercury is in the 10th house, one of the angular houses, right next to my Sun and my Mars. So, and it's one of my dominant planets. So maybe that's why the part was pretty well
Mm-hmm.
represented right away. Something to think about.
Yeah. 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 And it makes me curious if there's only one,
Yeah,
or if there's more to your Mercury, right? There's like, yeah, just, as you mentioned, 10th house. I'm wondering, like, okay, well, what other parts are in the 10th house? What
right.
other parts are, because I'm sure there's, I don't know, maybe I'm not sure there's more, but I'm curious that there's, yeah,
Yeah, it would make
more than
sense.
just one.
It makes
Doesn't
sense.
it?
I have Lilith, Sun, and Mars also there. So I wonder if there are those parts. I don't know, like how many parts does one person have?
Oh, like millions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as there's like literally thousands of asteroids that can also be followed in the birth chart, and
Hmm.
given information, like almost
Hmm.
every major writer has their own named after them, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Sappho's a really significant one in my chart. Maybe we can talk about that sometime.
Ooh. Ah, yes. That'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. That
Thank
was fun.
you. Thanks for lending us your system today and showing us a little bit about what's going on inside of you. And
Yeah.
courageously doing so. Yeah.
Okay. Love you, everyone.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Parts and Charts, the IFS and Astrology Podcast. If something sparked insight or resonated with you, we'd love to hear from you.
No, really, we're here to make friends. Reach out to us. Leave a comment, subscribe, and if you feel called, share this episode with someone you care about. Or, if you want to work with us one-on-one and go deeper with this work, check the link in the show notes for how to find us.
Until next time, may all of you feel a part of the family.